So let me take a moment to introduce our guests for today. Today we have with us Lalit Rathi and Kumar Saurabh. Rathi is a managing partner at LKR Advisors. By education, he's a CA, CWA, All India rank holder, CS and CFM. He has over 15 plus years experience in valuation of business and financial due diligence. He also possesses experience in spatial analytics related to he had been an advisor to many startups. So a very rich experience and a contra investor, which we will be knowing down the line in this session. And Kumar Saurabh, founder of Scientific Investing, a friend of retail investors, and he has been known for, analyzing data in such a manner so as to, help his techno fundamental strategies in investing. So we would be knowing more on this as we progress in the session. A very warm welcome to both of you.
Yeah, thanks, Prince.
So
Thanks a lot, Prince.
thanks, Bhai. So Lalit, like we start with you, and sort of like the similar questions I would be asking both of you, and even each of you can ask questions from each other so as to make the session more interactive and more beneficial for the attendees. And like, so Lalit, would appreciate if you tell us like how it all started for you and how you get into investing and developed so much of interest and helping the investing community big time. Yeah, over to you.
Yep, thanks. So it all started in 2006 when I joined my CA. I did see a very short, biggest bull market of that point of time, which happened from 2003 to 2007. So I did see from 2006, 7 kind of rally which used to happen. And I did also see the one of the harshest, worstest fall in 2008, right? Which is kind of a once in a lifetime event. I mean, I would even not say COVID as a once in a lifetime because 2008 was more painful in nature than the recent COVID fall. And hence, not many of them would have experienced. My serious investing started from 2011-12 post clearing CA. Initially, I did waste a lot of my time in the futures and options, lost money, back to square one, did micro cap investing, lost money in highly popular stock, started on value investing, got some, many became value traps, again lost money. So typically saw about 1.5, 2 cycles during that period, understood the mechanics of market in a very hard way, got the gut to stay longer for a longer period of time, right? And hence ventured into the so-called cyclical investing and slowly moved into contra investing. So, I mean, for those of you who are not aware, cyclical and contra, there's one thin line of difference which is there. Cyclical is more economy sector specific, where you identify the business cycle and you try to time those cycles. Say during expansion cycle, you focus on infra, discretionary consumable spending. Contra ke andar we take more specific bets where you're going completely against the prevailing market sentiment, which is there, right? So that's where the entire journey began on. And contra is always not about prices, right? It's about business as well. Prices can remain suppressed for a pretty long period of time. वो समझने के अंदर बहुत time लग गया. A lot of time went by in understanding how contra works, how contra cycle, because you need to experience at least one cycle in market. Yeah, so I'm actually in my third cycle in this market, which is pretty good so far. Survived. Hopefully, should continue to survive as well.
So Saurabh, you had a similar journey when you started. So you already spoke about it in our previous interaction, but again, you would like to touch upon few of the points again on this.
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of colleagues we come from similar kind of timelines and background, and even I started first time in I think 2007, and similar kind of journey, and then actually I was out of market like in terms of investing, I was out from 2008 end to almost 15, where I studied a lot regarding market, but kept all the money in mutual funds. But then again, from 15, I have been investing actively. And for me, the journey has been, it started with very typical, I was a big fan of Pat Dorsey. So the investment style started with Pat Dorsey, and I started attending, the investing events and all. Sorry, even my throat is bad. So initially, I thought this is the only way of investing, and there is nothing else exists. There is nothing called cyclical. There is nothing called contra. There is nothing called momentum. पैसा बनाने का एक ही तरीका है, quality company पकड़ो. But when I interacted with a lot of people, and I realized that there are, multiple ways to achieve the same, and that is where my curiosity to learn different investing styles, follow personalities who have done different styles in investing and trading, learn different skills, whether it's investing or trading or quants, all of that started developing. So I consider all these styles with a very, very open mind, because there is no one style which will work through, and every style goes through its own pain point. And it's like, अगर सिर्फ एक तरह का, वो रामायण में कहते थे ना, उसके पास ब्रह्मास्त्र भी है, ये बाण है, वो बाण है. तो अगर सिर्फ एक तरह का बाण है, तो दैट मे नॉट वर्क इन ऑल द मार्केट. बट इफ वी हैव lot of different types of things in our armor, then we have capability to play it differently based on the needs of the market. The only thing which I have seen is every style is mentally, psychologically very, very different from each other. So we'll talk more about contra investing. But the learning curve and the tuition fee which I have paid is more to, adapt to that style, because many times it is not easier. There are certain styles which behaviorally we are aligned to and it works for us, but there are certain styles which are not there. It takes a little bit of effort. So I started more on those lines, and I had my own journey of contra. I had my own success and failures. I will share some of them. But even in my current portfolio, which is discretionary, a good part of investing happens, which is more contrarian. Though I talk about technical analysis, momentum, all of this, I don't shy away, and we'll talk more of it. It is basically depending on what is our entry criteria, and I will share some of my mistakes and how we are doing some applications. So yeah, that has been my journey, and I have been doing contrarian kind of investing first unknowingly, when I didn't even know that okay, this is called contrarian, this is called value, and then over a period of time I learned. So we'll talk more about it, but that has been my journey. Now from 2015, I think I've almost tried all kinds of investing styles, and I have settled with some kind of hybrid investing style. Thanks, Prince.
So, Lalit, like when it comes to a process which is central to any successful investor. So, how had been? I mean, you talked about it, but again, how you evolved as far as your investing philosophy or approach to contra investing is. So, I mean, you started off in 2006. You saw various ups and downs during the markets, different market cycles. But again, how you matured as an investor, would love to know about it.
See, सुरू भाई आके बोले थे, I consider सुरू भाई वीरेंद्र सहवाग की तरह है. स्लाइस शॉट भी खेलेंगे, फ्रंट फुट में भी जाएंगे, बैक फुट में भी जाएंगे, सब तरह के शॉट्स वो खेलते हैं. आई एम मोर काइंड ऑफ अ राहुल द्रविड, वेयर टिक टॉक खेलना होता है, राइट? एंड कॉन्ट्रा प्रोबेबली taught me in terms of trying to do so. सी कॉन्ट्रा के अंदर है ना, आपको दो ऑप्शंस ही होते हैं. यू गेट प्रिडोमिनेंटली टू opportunities, and that's what I have learned all my way. One is the out of favor or the out of sector related stocks, or an out of economy related stocks, as well as a trend, right? And the second is there's an event, there's an announcement, there's a black swan, or there can be an event which is taking market by surprise completely. Predominantly, only these two kind of an opportunity comes along. The first one typically takes time, where every cycle is so different. But I believe that every industry in the market has a cycle. It's just that some are small cycles, some are mid cycle, some are large cycle. Say probably a fertilizer or a sugar cycle is a small cycle, which is monsoon related based yearly. Something like a cement, steel, banks might be a 2, 3 year cycle. Something like an infra, IT might be a 5 to 7 year cycle. But every industry is a cycle, right? And every industry will go through a good cycle, will go through bad cycle, and there is mean reversion which is going to happen. The second side is the event based, where a sudden event happens. Say last week, Adani related event happened, and there's a sudden event, of course, an event which was predicted for long, but suddenly, wow, market price collapsed in a sudden way. Now you try to identify, hey, is there a contra opportunity for me to take a cover on? And ऐसे event हर 6 महीने में होते रहते हैं. Every single time there's an event. Even before that was IT, and even before that was COVID, and even before that was demonetization, and even before that. So every 6 to 7 months, you will keep getting sector-related event and company-related event. Now, how do you typically analyze कि इसके अंदर क्या करना है? So you need to know what is the trend which is there in terms of market, and then you need to screen that stocks. And thanks to Ayush Bhai, Mittal Brothers for bringing in screener, which made my life at least significantly easy in terms of identifying the opportunities. Right now, data is there in fingertips. When I started some 10 years, 12 years back, there was absolutely no data. Data used to take so much time. डेटा के लिए स्ट्रगल करते थे हम लोग. अभी तो डेटा है, पेशेंस नहीं है लोगों के पास वेट करके रखने के लिए. सो स्टॉक्स देख लेते हो, फिनेंशियल्स देखते हो, लिवरेज देखते हो, प्रमोटर स्टेक हाई है नहीं है, कैश फ्लो जनरेट कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है. सो ओवर अ पीरियड आई केप्ट एडिंग दोस फिल्टर्स which base came from my learning, saying that okay, ये पिछले टाइम इस स्टॉक में से सुजलॉन लिया था गिरते समय, मालूम पड़ा कि हाँ लिवरेज रिलेटेड बेट्स नहीं ले सकते हो कॉन्ट्रा में. And something else, myself and Suru told me, hey, Lalit, allow the contra stocks to fall and see it from technical point of view. कि volume हो रहा है क्या उसके अंदर, base set हो रहा है क्या, is the promoter buying that respective stock. So that kind of interaction with peer groups help you in terms of strengthening your filters, right? And once you identify the filter, and once you get along your margin of safety, that's where you need to then sit very patiently, because contract kills you. It will take hell lot of time to perform, and not necessarily that 100% of your portfolio has to be contra. For me, it is probably 50-55% of my portfolio is contra. Remaining is more of a value related driven approach. But yeah, I mean, your process has to be very strong. The time which you're taking in being in the market, tracking that on a month-on-month basis, quarter-on-quarter, मैनेजमेंट कमेंट्री क्या दे रहा है, आपका थीसिस क्या था जब खरीद रहे थे. तो every single parameter has to work, or else I mean you're screwed big time. Contra becomes another value trap.
Right. Saurabh, similar question you can take. Yeah. Now, and same question for you.
Yeah. So, just for everybody's benefit, first thing, maybe I would like to just spend some time on defining what is contra investing, because for everybody the definition could be different. But if we look at the typical definition which we see on internet, whether we see on Wiki or Investopedia, basically the idea of contra investing is basically going against the existing market trend. So trend बोले तो अगर up trend में है तो you are going and you are taking a call more than the downside. So it's not only about long, it's about short also. I mean, if you want to stay in cash because you are feel that market is very overvalued. But the idea is to go against the current trend, whether you are going on a sector, whether you are going on an overall market, and whether you are going on a particular stock. So that is what usually a contra investing is. So the question comes when something is going up, why you take a stand that okay, I take a reverse stand. And the idea is because you feel either there is a froth, so you want to stay out, or even if it is going down, you feel there is a lot of value at this price, because maybe whoever is taking it down, he's not realizing its intrinsic value in long term, and in long term stocks are valued based on their intrinsic value. So you take a stand that I don't care if this stock is going down because I feel there is enough value, and the day people will realize it will go up. So it is written that in short term you will look like an idiot. But the problem which I faced of contra investing is not everything is successful contra investing. And if you have not done the right homework, you might be an idiot even for the long term. So buying anything which is investing is not contra investing. Buying everything which looks deep value in my eye, it's not contra investing. It needs a lot of deep dive, and out of 10 things which might look a good contra candidate, but just because it has fallen 56 60%, it doesn't mean. So that homework needs to be accurate. And out of 10, which looks like maybe 2 3 stocks will justify that rational in the long run, create wealth. So that is part number one. Part number two, the challenge which I faced, and initially many times I went wrong because I realized that there are certain factors which drive prices, and there could be sector and companies which can which can keep looking attractive for 4 5 6 7 years, but they will never generate wealth. So there is no point in investing just for the sake of being different and taking a different stand. Like if there is a sector which is in a structural downtrend, just buying because it is looking cheaper, maybe for a mispriced valuation, it is okay. So, but expecting that it will create long-term wealth, that doesn't serve the purpose. The second issue which I faced more in terms of contra investing is how do you build your position? Because when we look at like an idiot, it might see when stocks go in an uptrend or they go in a downtrend, there's a popular saying that stocks can remain in the uptrend or downtrend much longer than what we think. And many times we have seen that it looks overvalued, but it keeps going up. And when it corrects, actually it goes below this price. Or sometimes when things go correct in correction mode, they say don't buy a stock which is in stage 4 because nobody bothers about what is the valuation. So it's important to have a good accumulation strategy, because if if we would have felt there's a value, but from there if the stock falls another 50%, psychologically it becomes very very difficult to remain emotionally isolated. On paper, in books, it looks very easy, but when there is a real money, it's very difficult. And hats off to people who have, that kind of mindset and heart to bear that kind of fall. Unfortunately, I don't have, and that is where I started, you know, tweaking it a little bit, which suits my need. And Lalit was telling that, I used to tell him that, okay, thoda base ban jane do, fir dheere dheere lete hain. So everybody, and it's a process which everybody needs to define for themselves, depending on their psyche, their behavior, their heart, their experience in market, how much of drawdown they have seen, what other skill sets they have. But it's not as easy as, okay, this is the contra bet, I did my research, it looks easy, let me take the whole position. It doesn't work that way, and we all need to tweak. I can talk a few examples, but then I will wait for some more questions and wait for Lalit to share more, and then I'll talk in few examples and give how I tweaked and changed it. But this is how I take it. For me, it's not going to be a simple get all in, but there are a lot of ifs and buts and the process nuances.
Right. So, Lalit, I mean, do you have some checklist or maybe some system in process on the basis of which you take a call whether you, I mean, go about this investment, I mean, contra investments? So, how you analyze these potential investments and make decision which one to pursue?
I think I completely agree with Suru, except the part on the allocation कि कितना allocation करना चाहिए, कब करना चाहिए और क्या होता है. Coming to your question in terms of screening, right? So identifying trend and identifying a stock going down is just one part. Let me just explain you with a very simple example. अभी जैसे Adani Group का stocks related went down, right? Entire group stock collapse. We just bought last week Ambuja Cements, right? And my logic, and like Suru said, right, not just because every single stock is falling, you need to go and buy that across, because the stock can correct 40-50%, and that has happened. It has happened many times with me where I felt that there is enough margin of safety of 20, 25, 30%. Still, the stock has corrected by another 20, 25%, right? And it happens. That's the learning process. So the logic of buying Ambuja was something like, hey, look, the price, apart from the price coming down from 550 to 350, right? 70,000 crore market cap. The company has been there for 25 years. The balance sheet is 45, 50,000 crore, very limited debt, 8, 10,000 crores, which is lying in bank balance, 30 to 32 million tons per annum, kind of a significant market share, which is having 90% capacity utilization. And just 9 months back, they had a change in shareholding, I think at 380 or 385 rupees, right? So it's an annual cash generation kind of a player, 5,000 crore har saal cash nikalta hai system se, right? So that kind of a player, when it is dropping by and it is available at a significant margin of safety, so your fundamental bucket is checked, saying that, hey, look, company is fundamentally strong, there's no problem. Now coming to the variable part, which is a moving part, right? Where you track, hey, what is happening to the entire group? And because entire group, somewhere something is pledged or the entire group is beaten down, naturally the stock will get beaten down, whatever might be the fundamental. Hence, the contra is not just ki buy kar liya or within 1 month, sentiment will reverse and you will get to exit. No, it doesn't happen. It's never that easy. It takes 2, 3, 4 quarters for stock to stabilize. And probably what Suru added, ki tranches ke andar le sakte ho. Abhi first tranche low. You think stock falls down by another 5, 7, 10%, you buy another tranche. Another 10%, probably you can buy another tranche. But there's already a significant margin of safety. I have not bought it at 550. I have got it at 350. Right? So I know that my margin of safety ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा नीचे base level में EV to EBITDA अगर 10-12 टाइम के ऊपर आ रहा है, stock can go down at max 300, probably 280, 300 if sentiments are really, really bad, right? So I think there's a technical play which people like Suru bring on table where I keep to discuss with him and all my other friends saying that, hey, where this can go. Second, there is industry play saying that, okay, industry is not going through a bad phase. Company results are coming in good. So hence, fundamentally, you need not worry. So the moving variable is only in terms of the group related stock and you take a call. I mean, end of the day, it's your gut, yeah. आपको gut feeling के ऊपर, intuition के ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा weightage देना पड़ता है contra के अंदर. I think I've learned if I did too many analysis or wherever I have did too many analysis, it has led to paralysis only. I have failed wherever I've did way too many analysis and trying to protect myself. Those are all the bets which I failed. I think reasonable amount of margin of safety अगर आपको conviction आ जाता है, then you make your allocation. And that's where I differ with Suru. Suru might give a 2% allocation. Probably I might give a 15-20% allocation. Because when I'm betting on contra and I know कि हाँ ये गिर चुका है, so I'll go all out in terms of getting it. And over there I might breach, my industry sectoral limits which can be there purely because I'm taking a contra bet. And it can, reward you significantly higher, and that's where you generate alpha. So I think fundamentally आपको screen देके पूरा समझना पड़ेगा कि इसका process company क्या कर रहा है और क्या नहीं कर रहा है, and do that sensitivity analysis where saying that, okay, if things go bad 20-30%, and that's where, like I said, right, the learning has been long in last 7-8 years. Filter saying that, hey, too much debt है और company fundraise करेगा या debt निकालेगा तो वो बर्बाद होगा. Company will continue to go down. It will not, go up in a short period of span. So I think that learning matters a lot in terms of selecting stock, industry, basis on fundamental, and then seeing what all the moving variables and trying to reduce those moving variables one after one. Suru, anything you want to add?
Thanks, Lalit. So I will take some examples to exemplify how I have done and how my process has evolved. So 6-7 years back when I started, my basic assumption was I know more than market. So जो भी गिर रहा है और मुझे पसंद आ रहा है, market उल्लू है, market को समझ में नहीं आ रहा, मुझे पता है. But after 6-7 years, my basic assumption has reversed. I know less than market. So अगर गिर रहा है तो क्यों गिर रहा है? Does market know something which I don't know? Else why it is so easy to me and why it is not for the market? That is the biggest change which has happened when I think about these contra bets. Now why it has happened? So let me go back from the initial journey. So मैंने 5-6 साल पहले I invested in a stock called HMVL, Hindustan Media Ventures Limited. Now that time when I invested, this company was sitting on 700 crore cash and the market cap was like, if you consider that cash, you are just not paying anything significant. And I was like, kitna cash flow generate ho raha hai, 700 crore cash. And if you go through those con calls, 2015, 16, 17, out of 10 questions, 7 questions will be only on that cash. And right from Goldman Sachs, all of them, they will be asking. Now, what I missed is cash is good only when a promoter has right intent to return it to shareholder. That is point number one. And second, there's the importance of, we all talk of market size, opportunity, growth, runway, and all of that. So whether it's a rising industry or whether it's, down industry, and cyclic is a different thing. Cyclic means it will rise and fall, rise and fall. But whether it's structurally rising or cyclic or structural downfall, that is second important thing. Now, what happened? There were two issues. One, this whole paper printing, it's a structurally in a downtrend. Of course, the counter argument was that there is a digital business which will get created. But what digital business का potential क्या है, market size opportunity क्या है, numbers क्या है, else on paper everything looks excitement. The other thing was, does promoter has this, intent to return that money to shareholder? And somewhere I felt after being there, invested for 1 year, attending 4 5 con calls, I realized that the intent was missing. And later on, a lot of things happened. So many times I have put my comments on jubilant group of companies, and I say again, one, nothing, whatever I am speaking, it's my personal opinion. I could be right, I could be wrong. So it's a personal opinion. And second, nothing which we discussed is a advice or good, either on long or short. But I realized, and later it happened. Basically, that cash never went back to minority investors. So maybe the market was realizing these things, and maybe I was an idiot who couldn't see these things. So it's very, very important to start with all the things which can go wrong and see what is the possibility of these things going wrong. And only when we can eliminate all these possibilities, then only there's a probability of making money. So then why do the other thing when it works is, as Lalit says, it might take time, and there is a lot of instances. आज हर कोई कॉफी कर रहा है, CCL चल रहा है. कॉफी ऐसा नहीं कि आज पैदा हो गया है, कॉफी 5 साल से इंडिया पी रहा है. Just look what happened CCL in 2016 to 19, and actually the stock was doing okay, but still the prices didn't move. So sometimes you just need to wait because there are things beyond fundamentals which are working, and there could be one or two surprise. So many times it takes longer just because of the demand supply of the share rather than share fundamentals. So a lot of those things need to be taken into care. So one mistake was I was totally wrong. One mistake was I was not long enough to be there to reap the rewards. That is true. But slowly all this process has led to thinking, as I said, my whole assumption changed. And now I think market is intelligent, so I'm doing wrong. So what is wrong? So I go through these checklists, and what I have realized is, यू नो मार्केट और आदमी की लाइफ सिमिलर है. हमारी लाइफ में भी ना गोल्डन पीरियड आता है जब सब कुछ सही चलता है, और हमारी लाइफ में भी वो राहु केतु का काल आता है जब ये भी हो जा रहा है, ये भी गड़बड़ हो गया, वो भी गड़बड़ हो गया, करियर भी सही नहीं जा रहा है, पैसा भी डूब रहा है, मार्केट सब गलत हो रहा है. लाइफ में जितना गलत सोच सकते हैं सब हो रहा है. इवन कंपनीज गो थ्रू दैट पीरियड, बट दोज पीरियड्स आर टेम्पररी पीरियड. When we get a company, when it goes through those kind of temporary periods, or of course market is a different thing, market is pure greed and fear. So taking a Contra call at the extreme cycle of market of greed and fear, that's a different skill. And then this whole company thing which I am talking, that's a different skill. So coming to companies, if we get those kind of opportunities where still structurally everything is good, the company is good, the management is okay, but there is some short term multiple headwinds which have resulted in this kind of environment. It might happen because maybe didn't perform for 2 3 quarters. It might happen because some bad event happened. So like Aegis, if I take a recent example, within a span of 6 months, एक तो valuation बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गया था, तो वो correction हुआ. Then the promoter who was running the whole show, who has delivered, he died all of a sudden. Then there was a deal which happened, and market didn't like that deal because everything was going well, and then all of a sudden this deal, and a lot of cash is going to come, how that cash will be utilized, the terms and transactions of the deal. So when in a short span of time so many things happen, market stock को पीट देता है. And then if you look at the numbers, you feel that इससे बस तो हो नहीं सकता. So when you get a situation where looks like all your checklists are done, and it's not like a sinking industry, there may not be a big corporate governance issue, almost, of course there is no black and white. And then you see कि minimum यहाँ तो worst to worst भी अगर 25-20% बन रहा है. If I did an analysis on Aegis, and my most conservative estimate was 19% CAGR for 4 5 years. So those are the times when it works. So this was more on the long side. If I talk something on the short side, so this whole thing of IT, I think 2021 September October, going against IT. So again, for me, it's again. So the good part of investing is you have like-minded friends and you discuss a lot, and still you disagree. Still your processes are different, and still you could be successful as per your own expectation. So my contra thing also gets more driven by the data. Now, if you look on the IT sector, basically what happened because of COVID, this whole digital wave, the whole digital transformation, which should have happened in 10 years, is happening in 3, 4, 5 years. So, of course, the growth rate was higher than the usual growth rate for the obvious reasons. Nobody went to office. And if you look at the P&L breakup of IT companies, there is a component, and it's more on the product side. If you see SGA, sales and marketing and advertising expenses, they're huge. And even your travel expenses, operational expenses, companies, people travel for pre-sales, for sales, for team bounding, and all of these things. Nothing was happening. So a lot of that cost saving led to margin improvement, and that margin improvement was not a lifetime improvement. It was not sustainable. So the day people start going back to office, basically that is the first hint that your margins are going to come down. And the more life comes back to normal, of course, you can't have that kind of exponential growth rate which you got in some of these companies for life. So when you're sitting on a lifetime high growth, lifetime high margin, and lifetime high valuation, I have seen that period in 2016. So I was part of analytics. That is my career and bread and butter. So I know कि analytics कितना humans को replace करेगा नहीं करेगा. But in 2000 and today, I think Amay bhai, he was posting the same thing because of all of this chat GPT going on. In 2016, most of the WhatsApp group people were not willing to pay even a 15x valuation to the Tata Alexis and Persistent, because everybody felt that machine learning will come, it will replace all the Indian IT employees, no IT employee will be required. So from that to paying, not paying 15 times to paying 60, 70, 80, 100 times, justifying digital at lifetime high growth, margin, valuation, which is not sustainable. And the day that news came, even that tweet is with that screenshot that employees will be called back to office, market always acts 3, 4 months in advance. So I felt that, and it took me, in fact, uske baad ek aur breakout hua, but that breakout failed, and that is how top got created. So I did look like an idiot for 2 months, but then this whole data story played out, and then it came back to normal. So whether we are playing a contra in a stock, whether we are playing contra on sector or market, again on market I am data driven. So I think on the small cap index, I kept sharing a data since June that there has never been a period of 25 months when the small cap index has not corrected at least 20% from its top. So I will repeat the statement. There has never been a period of 25 months, 24 or 25, when the small cap index has not corrected at least 20% from its top. And if we look this whole run from April 2020, in June 2021, which touched almost maybe 15, 16 bucks. And then for me, it's a probability. The more we come closer to 25 months, the lesser is the probability that that rule not be broken. The higher will be probability, because कितना market run कर सकता है, cycle तो play होना ही है, धीरे धीरे overvaluation होगा. And I think we got a top created in small cap index by the time we reach 22 or 23 months. So even though I'm starting to become cautious, when I'm going contra, that's a different thing. But I am highlighting a caution in a higher market. That is also a contra stand. But you might look like an idiot for 6 months, because you can't predict that tomorrow it will happen or this month it will happen. But you live in probabilities, and still you safeguard yourself so that when the fall is happening, you are not surprised, and you are safeguarding yourself. So this is how I look at contra investing, and this has my whole journey of doing things wrong to identifying the checklist to reviving the process and how to do it. So I thought some of these examples I will share. So yeah, Prince and Lalit, that's what I had to say.
Great, thanks. So Lalit, coming to you, like how you stay updated on market trends and the changes happening across that may impact your investment. So how you go about studying the macros and the happenings in the market?
I mean, there's a lot of data sources which is there over here, Prince, right? Uh, where you take the source from the newspapers, economic times, jo chal raha, wo to chal hi raha hai. Being a chartered accountant, I do get an added advantage in terms of making industry visits, going to forums, going to exhibitions, or being invited for it as a guest speaker, right? So वो तो आपको मिलते रहता है, and then you have people like Suru coming in across. Avinash Bhai was there some time back, right? Where you get across, speak with them, and see, understand what is happening. So industry level तो आपको बहुत सारा मिल जाएगा. At any point of time, there will always be an industry which is going through a tough phase where you think and identify an opportunity which can come across. I think the challenge is not that. The challenge is in terms of identifying which can become in terms of successful. And that's where problem is all about, right? I mean, जैसे अभी कोविड के टाइम हम लोगों ने we selected a lot of stocks where extreme level of pessimism was there, right? And it was not alone just economy specific, but very specific to industry, which only one or two players are there. Say, I took a bet on Indigo, right? I took a bet on Delta Corp, where I got my timing perfectly right, I would say, saying that, okay, yeah, I knew, and having experienced Contra, I knew that this is something where there is extreme amount of pessimism. So Contra एक तो बन रहा था उसके अंदर theme. Now coming to the fundamental check. So Indigo was a classic example. Market price fell down by 40-50%. There was pessimism that people will take years to travel. Then there was news that Warren Buffett had sold his entire airlines holding. There were reports after reports saying that, people will not travel. These guys will continue to make, loss for the next 2-3 years, which is actually true. It has happened. 50% market share Indigo was having, the fifth, sixth largest in the world. 5 crore passengers travel every year. So fundamentally, everything was working out well. Now what happened? Now when the price collapsed, you had to take a decision saying that, hey, the price which you're entering, which I entered at around 950 levels, does this have a margin of safety? Now, what is margin of safety? Margin of safety is nothing but I say, hey, intrinsic value of a stock for say an Indigo is 1,200, 1,300 rupees. Current market price is 900, 950 rupees. So I'm getting a cushion of 20% in terms of safety. Now, if the price collapses to 800, 700, there's a margin of safety of 40-50% which comes, which is great. इसके अंदर आपको बहुत क्विक रहना पड़ता है for events which are very sudden. You need to calculate the margin of safety very, very quickly because markets have started correcting stocks very quickly. 2010, 12, 13 period, the stock used to correct a hell lot of time. It used to take a hell lot of time. 12, 13 May, one of my major money which I made was in MCX, Multi Commodity Exchange, right? Where this, I don't know how many of you will also be aware of the National Stock Exchange Limited, National Spot Exchange Limited, the NSCL scam which took place, I think in 2013, right? Where, their holding company was Financial Technologies Limited, which I think is now known as 63 Moons Limited something. So उनका क्या हुआ था? Overnight they came and said, I think June, July period, they said that, hey, they don't have money to pay it back to their investors. पैसा नहीं है, completely नहीं है. And it turned to be a big scam. It was a scam of 10,000 crore. Now what happened? What happened was they had one more investment, that is the holding company FTL, had one more company invested, which is MCX. And MCX was independently running very, very nicely. It was a regulated commodity, futures exchange chal raha tha. Whereas NSCL was more kind of a spot exchange for delivery. So stock still was smashed from 1,000 rupees to 300 rupees. And it first came to my light when Prashant Jain from SGFC at that point of time went all out in terms of buying. And he gave a beautiful logic saying that, hey, look, even though the group is same, but it has got nothing to do in terms of operations and both of them run completely different. Now you need to have that sensibility कि identify करना एक चीज है, कहाँ पे किधर impact हो रहा है वो एक दूसरी चीज है. You need to be very quick in terms of identifying, does it have a kind of a cascading or a trickle down effect कहीं लग रहा है क्या? And then, I mean, I did buy and probably exited, but that was a very painful, slow journey. It was a journey of 6 months where stock price kept correcting. अभी तो क्या हो रहा है, एक हफ्ते के अंदर stock price पूरा correct होके खत्म होके story is over. That's it. Within 1 week, from 1,000 to 200 in no time, right? So I think that journey and this journey is completely different. And for those who are doing Contra, of course, you can't get your extreme buying price right. Neither can you get your selling price also right. But getting your price at a lower and a good margin of safety is very, very important. नहीं तो आप वो upside completely miss कर दोगे. नहीं तो it will become just like any other bet in terms of a value stock kind of a stuff where सब लोग आएंगे रिपोर्ट देंगे कि हाँ इसके अंदर वैल्यू है हो रहा है. I think getting it at the right time was very, very important. And I mean, बहुत सारे example है Contra के अंदर. Vishal Sikka left Infosys, price collapsed by 10-12%. There was a whistleblower allegation again on Infosys, price collapsed by 10-12%. Nestle का Maggi का issue हुआ था, again price collapsed by 10, 12, 15, 20%, right? So there are a lot of event specific example which keeps happening. You need to have your fundamental analysis being done very, very good. Then tie up with like-minded people who can give you technical. I'm not a technical guy. My technical analysis is probably zero. So who can give you the technical play saying that, okay, yeah, not immediately, but over a 3-year period or a 5-year period, this is the range, so that you are able to also time that slightly much, much better.
Right. And for the knowledge of the attendees, you can also study the case study which Lalit just explained in the book Bulls, Bears, and the Beast, Other Beasts.
Yes,
Right.
correct.
So,
वो बहुत बढ़िया लिखा है वो. It's a beautiful book, yeah. I think everyone should study it.
right, Lalit. So Saurabh, like, what do you? I mean, when it comes to market trends and the changes happening, so do you? I mean, find out those through the system which you have in place, or just like Lalit explained, similar way you work out as far as macros are concerned.
No, so like I am a guy who is kind of zero in macro. I mean, थोड़ा बहुत पता है, but lot of things I don't understand. And in fact, I have been learning from Lalit. हमने Twitter Spaces किया था where Lalit and we called Sahil. In fact, 2 days back we did a session with Sahil from DSP for my community. So that is the learning curve. But I think we all have our ways to find it, and I depend a lot on system, which is one part of decision making. In system also there are different indicators. There are fundamental indicators, there are technical indicators, there are quantitative indicators, there are sentimental indicators. Some of them are very popular. I have embraced it. Like if you see the whole Google trends of certain keywords of multi-bagger or bangar cap, so those are more like sentimental indicators. Being on social media itself helps. Many times I do survey. My whole intent of survey is just to gauge a sentiment, nothing else. So a lot of these things, they help. And of course, when you spend more time in the market, and when you have seen 2 3 bear cycles, first cycle you were an idiot, second cycle you knew how not to lose money, third cycle you learn how to be in cash. So that experience also teaches you. So it's a mix of data, mix of the systems you have built, the rules you have built, the checklist you have built, and then your own experience of market cycle. All of this helps.
Right. So I mean, Lalit, do you come across any challenges or any obstacles being a contra investor, or it's like what we say a journey in which we improvise as we progress the curve, and how you go about managing the risk? Like you talked about margin of safety, that is fine and should be in place, but again, anything additional you look for, maybe forensics or anything other?
Challenges, I mean, पूछो ही मत यार. Like शुरू से सब लोग पागल बुलाते हैं contra investors को, right? किसी को भी जाके बोलो, if you go and take your thesis to someone saying that भाई यार ये पसंद आ रहा है, people will say भाई तू पागल हो गया. Why are you buying IT in this market? I have been a big buyer of IT in last 2-3 months. Just a disclaimer to be given across, right? So, but I have been a big buyer in IT market. I think any pre-election year, IT is a very, very safe bet and मिल जाता है आपको. एंड सिमिलरली अक्रॉस, आई मीन जब मैं से रूपी क्राइसिस हुआ था 2013 में, पीएसयू बैंक्स जब गिरा था, पीएसयू का जब डेटा क्लीन अप चल रहा था इंडियन बैंकिंग सिस्टम में, आई मीन ओ माय गुडनेस, एवरी क्वार्टर आफ्टर क्वार्टर यू विल फील एज इफ कि यार बर्बाद होने वाला है इंडिया. दैट काइंड ऑफ अ नंबर्स यूज्ड टू कम. 20% एनपीए, 20% एनपीए, राइट? आप कॉन्ट्रा करते रह जाओगे, फॉरगेट अबाउट कॉन्ट्रा, आपको मालूम नहीं पड़ेगा कि बैंक कब बंद हो गया. दैट काइंड ऑफ नंबर ऐसे लगेगा आपको कि किसको इन लोगों ने लेंड किया है यार, कि हर बार 20% एनपीआर, मतलब कहाँ पे गया है टोटल पैसा। तो वैसे टाइप ऑफ सिचुएशन में आप जाके किसी को बोलोगे भाई मैं जाके पीएसयू बैंक्स में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ, saying that logic is, hey, price to book, it is available at 0.3. The person directly question, boss, what is the book value? नेटवर्थ क्या है यहाँ पे, इसका रियल नेटवर्थ आप क्या बोल रहे हो? वो तो बिग बुक्स में बता रहे 2000 करोड़ है, एक्चुअल में उसका 500 करोड़ भी नहीं रहेगा ना। तो which is nothing but your now price to book becomes 1.2, which is industry. So every single time you go ahead with a situation where you think that okay, a worst has happened, and you go and present it to someone, लोग बोलेगा कि पागल हो गया ललित भाई, दूर रहना ललित से, right? I think myself and Suru, we have faced this a lot. I don't know Suru, I mean we did jointly, कौन सा कंपनी लिया था वो कोविड के टाइम, सीएन लिया था, करेक्ट? इट्स एन world class leading outsourcing company into an aerospace, डिफेंस करता है, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में है, मेडिकल हेल्थ केयर में है, डिजाइन लेड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में कर रहा है, पीसीबी असेंबलिंग, एरोस्पेस, सीएनसी मशीनिंग, एवरीथिंग, राइट? एंड 80% ऑफ द रेवेन्यू कम्स ग्लोबली, 50 customers, टॉप सॉलिड फॉर्च्यून 500 कंपनी से आ रहे हैं। स्टॉक स्टिल गॉट हैमर्ड फ्रॉम 500 to 200 220 लेवल शुरू, आई थिंक
उसका
220
प्रमोटर
230 में हम
वीपी
लोगों ने,
ऑल एम्प्लॉइज, ललित रिमेंबर, प्रमोटर वीपी
हाँ
सीईओ सब
बाइंग के
खरीद
ऊपर,
रहे हैं और दिल्ली
बाइंग
गिरे
बाइंग
जा
के
रहा है,
ऊपर,
गिरे जा रहा है।
every single day they were buying this stock. I was telling Suru, bhai ho kya raha hai? 230, 240 we made our positions, and non-stop management and employees were buying. So we knew that a company which is doing 1,000 crore revenue कर रहा है, हर क्वार्टर पे 100 करोड़ का पैट कर रहा है। I mean, अब लास्ट उसका 3-4 साल निकाल लीजिए, हर क्वार्टर कंसिस्टेंटली 1,000 करोड़ रेवेन्यू कर रहा है, 100 करोड़ पैट कर रहा है, 1,000 करोड़ रेवेन्यू कर रहा है, 100 करोड़ पैट कर रहा है, और 2,000 करोड़ मार्केट कैप में कंपनीज अवेलेबल यार। तो 400 करोड़ के मतलब 5 पी के अंदर कंपनी मिल रहा है, और जहां मैनेजमेंट बाई कर रहे हैं, एम्प्लॉय बाई कर रहे हैं, सब लोग कर रहे हैं। एंड माइंड यू, इन द कोविड क्वार्टर आल्सो, द मार्च एंड जून क्वार्टर, दे डिड नॉट रिपोर्ट अ लॉस, even though 80% of their companies revenue comes from globally fortune companies, still they did not report a loss. That gave us enough comfort कि यार दबा के मान लो इसके अंदर, जब ये रिवर्स होगा सेंटिमेंट, the stock will fly off to 500 back. Of course, I exited at 450, 500. It is now at 1,000 rupees. That's okay. Of course, I can't drive, and उस thesis का मैंने जो लिया था, हम लोगों को मालूम था कि 400-500 रुपए मिलेगा, 100% रिटर्न मिल रहा है एक साल के अंदर, मोर देन हैप्पी। तो ऐसे बहुत से आपको एग्जांपल मिल जाएंगे जहां पे यू कैन टेक अपॉर्चुनिटी, बट व्हेन यू गो एंड प्रेजेंट दैट अपॉर्चुनिटी, यू आर ऑलवेज लाइक बुद्धू है, राइट? सो आई थिंक आपको फॉरेंसिक तो 100% करना पड़ेगा। ये फंडामेंटली करने के बाद में आपको ग्राउंड लेवल पे पूछना पड़ेगा कि कंपनी के साथ कोई एम्प्लॉयज छोड़ रहा है क्या। आई हैव बीन पार्ट ऑफ कॉन्ट्रा इन्वेस्टिंग वेयर आई हैव सीन दैट एम्प्लॉयज हैव लेफ्ट, से आई इन्वेस्टेड इन दिस कंपनी कॉन्ट्रा, कौन सा, टेक सॉल्यूशंस, हैदराबाद बेस्ड, दिया था। उसके बाद में सोचा हाँ गिर गया है, फैक्टर्ड इन एनफ, कोविड के टाइम हैमर्ड, R&D कुछ नहीं चल रहा है, बट व्हाट हैपेंड इज की एम्प्लॉयज केप्ट ऑन लीविंग, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम द मेन पर्सन, प्रेसिडेंट से लेके नीचे वाइस प्रेसिडेंट, finance head, CFO, everyone was quitting. So that was my additional filter next time when I invested, saying that, okay, yeah, if there's someone who is quitting company in a very short time of span and the market price collapses, don't buy that company. Also, learning के हिसाब से वो आता है। So आपको आपका filters, every single opportunity which you invest across will give you end result, and not necessary that every contra bet goes work. For me, say if I'm investing in 6, 3 will work, 100% पक्का वर्क करेगा, 3 तो पक्का करेगा, 50% आपको मिलेगा ही मिलेगा, राइट? 2 will not move anywhere, it will just kill you. और मार्केट अपॉर्चुनिटी इतना ज्यादा होता है, मार्केट कॉस्ट इतना ज्यादा होता है कि आपके मोमेंटम वाला दोस्त कॉल करेगा, बोलेगा भाई मेरा पोर्टफोलियो 30% दे रहा है, तेरा कॉन्ट्रा क्या हो रहा है, वेयर यू विल बी सिटिंग एट 0%। क्यों? आपको लेके बैठे रहोगे, कुछ नहीं होगा उसके अंदर। then your value guy will say sometimes, saying that bhai mera ye ho gaya, kya kar rahe ho karke. There's always a FOMO which is attached here. End of the day, all of here or there to make money, right? So वो तो रहता है कि क्या कर रहे हैं, 2 साल 3 साल के बाद में भी उसी स्टॉक में बैठे हैं, बिजनेस बाउंस हो चुका है, स्टॉक प्राइस बाउंस नहीं हुआ। 100% it happens. I remember buying जागरण प्रकाशन which was there, right? शुरू के साथ भी बात हुआ था जागरण प्रकाशन का, 1800 करोड़ मार्केट कैप में मिल रहा है, दैनिक जागरण देयर, लीडिंग न्यूज़पेपर अक्रॉस इंडिया, 8 करोड़ रीडर है। कोविड के टाइम चलो लोग नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं, फिर से आएंगे, पढ़ेंगे, करेंगे, और हर 2-3 साल में वो बाईबैक भी कर रहा है यार बंदा। तो ज्यादा क्या होगा, 60 रुपए का भाव है, फिर से बाउंस बैक हो जाएगा, 100 रुपए चले जाएगा. इट डिड नॉट. बिजनेस हैज बाउंस बैक. Price is still continuing to be 60 even after 3 years. I had to accept. I had to take the hard call कि चलो कुछ नहीं मिला, हो गया. Nothing can be done. You have to accept it. You have to learn, accept. End of the day आपको क्या करना है? आपको ये देखना है कि आपका अल्फा कितना जनरेट हुआ है. And whether this alpha, have you been able to beat the market? Number one. If you had not followed Contra, what would have been your portfolio and what would have been that return? Number two, having followed, what is your return? So बहुत कुछ देखना पड़ता है. End of the day, 22-23% अगर आप कर पा रहे हो, तो I think you can do it. There are a lot of risk on the downside which you have to manage, because Contra, like Suru said, can give you sleepless nights here. It can really give you sleepless nights. It has given me so many sleepless nights where I've thought कि हाँ मेरा process is intact, it has been really good, risk has been factored, yet stock गिरते जाता है बस 2%, 5%, 2%. You feel like not even switching on your computer that day, because the moment you switch on, you will see 3, 4, 5% down where market is up by 2, 3%. Feel क्या चल रहा है करके. So I think yeah, that is part and parcel of learning. But journey has been exceedingly good so far. At least last 2, 3 years, I think has been solid in terms of learnings and the outcome also. Returns भी जो मिला है, it has also been good.
Yeah, and Lalit, even I correctly remember, like Saurav, when you guys have been very vocal when the market was peaking in sometime in October 2021,
Yeah.
and people were mad buying the FOMO stocks, and they have been cautioned by
I
Saurav and you
clearly
guys
remember Lalit made a tweet that अगर घर का loan pay करना है तो this is the best time basically to book some profit and pay the loan. I remember because I forwarded that. I felt that's a very important tweet. I forwarded, and then somebody is asking कि 2 महीने के बाद top कर गया 4 महीने के बाद. So it is like, you're trying to help but still you get lost in all of this. So I clearly remember that time, Lalit
and
tweeting this.
even Saurabh, like those time, like people were cursing people who were suggesting that, right? And at some point in time, when they realized that they were in good intent and were right, then they were after the people who were suggesting the names which were in FOMO. So market participants are more or less.
That's typically how it
Yeah, right.
works. Yeah, yeah. But ये जो discussion चल रहा है ना, so I was itching to talk because which Lalit told this thing about due diligence. See, one big thing in Contra is if your due diligence is not right now, you might get one or two stocks where your whole allocation can get wiped off. And I'll tell you, in 2016-17, and these are very popular people. I will not name it. At that time, they were very, very popular. But ये जो Yes Bank का हुआ, DHFL का हुआ, so many times you might be thinking that you are a rock star who has identified, but if you have not done your homework on the due diligence side, it can really spoil you. So being a contra investor, it is very, very important to have a right due diligence framework and don't get into sectors which you don't understand. For me, banking was a very complicated sector and I didn't save myself because of my capability. I got saved just because I had the right network who could just guide me that these are not the right set of companies. And there were certain sectors which I could do because of my capability. I remember Treehouse करके एक company हुआ करती थी. I did that presentation in Bangalore in 2017. No company will declare it a fraud, but सबसे जो पहला रेड अलर्ट था वो आया कि कोई भी जो प्री स्कूल का बिजनेस होता है, we all, many of us, we have kids, we all pay in advance. Why companies having so much of receivable in such a business? And that led to the detailing. And when I went through last 5-6 years of annual reports, sab kuch, I had at least 25 plus red flags. But you need to do that kind of exercise. And later on, that company went into a case, and after that, SEBI came with due diligence, and SEBI declared it as a fraud. So बाद में मैंने 2021 में YouTube video बनाया कि देखो 17 में निकला था red flags, तो finally a fraud निकला. So if you're thinking everything which is falling is a contra just because even in 2018 on forums this company was presented because education is a big huge market size opportunity, not this company but another company. But thing is, we have to always think why market is punishing. That is very, very important. But that is how, if you get the things right and your due diligence checklist is correct, then that is how you identify the big opportunities also. Like in current market, something which is there from a value perspective, I give a lot of importance to these kind of industries where your market cap is available lesser than the whole net fixed asset or your cash on the books, and still the structural growth is intact, still the management story is intact. So there are stories in current market also. We should look at it, but our due diligence, checklist has to be very, very pakka. And even if there is a small doubt, then it's better to stay away. Even if if it is a complex sector we can't understand, then there is no point in playing a contra and then not understanding what is happening. So it needs solid understanding of the business, of the management, on all the due diligence parameters.
Right, Saurabh. So, Kaushik, I'll come to you. Before that, our attendees are always interested in such kind of questions. So, Lalit and Kumar, like, क्या interesting लग रहा है present market situation में? Lalit disclosed about IT thing, but again, which sectors or which pockets you guys are looking, which can do well for say next 3 to 5 years?
I mean, you're asking a value question to a contra guy, right? 3 to 5 years contra के अंदर अगर आप ले रहे हो तो प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है उसके अंदर। तो मतलब यही हो गया कि आप अच्छा कंपनी ले रहे हो, कोई भी कंपनी ले लो, 3 to 5 years के अंदर परफॉर्म करना। आई थिंक द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ कॉन्ट्रा इज way different, and contra is all about seizing opportunities which is going to be present. I said that we recently took a position 2-3 days back on Ambuja Cement. IT has been last 1-2 महीने के अंदर अच्छा खासा पोजीशन हम लोगों ने बनाया है। अभी स्टील सेक्टर हैव स्टार्टेड रिपोर्टिंग लॉसेस, सो आई थिंक अनदर वन probably June quarter should also, March quarter they should report a loss, and June quarter में bottom out हो जाएगा. So keep a track. This might not be a right time to buy. It's a cycle which will play out. It will come back. Mean reversion होगा, फिर से आपको वही टाटा स्टील 70-80 रुपए में मिलेगा. That's the time where extreme negative pessimism report सब निकल के आएगा. तब जब रिपोर्ट निकल के आता है ना, तब आपको you will get a good opportunity in terms of making your allocation of 5-7-10% coming into that. So I think broadly I keep selecting on specific opportunities, and industry के अंदर अगर कुछ specific होता है तो वो select करते हैं, but yeah, nothing in specific as such apart from these 2-3 which I've selected.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I mean, yesterday I was about to make a tweet, फिर मैंने किया नहीं, because on one company I saw some 4-5 similar tweets. So there is a company, I will tell you. सबसे पहले तो company का numbers almost as close as making losses. That is one which has happened. If you go through the con call, the demand side is also screwed. The raw material side is also screwed. Number two, it is a year when they have taken one of the highest capex of their life. Number three, the capex is funded by debt partially. Number four, so there is nothing going right in the company right now. So कल 2-3 ट्वीट था, and before that let me make a disclaimer that see, अगर कोई स्टॉक 6,000 रुपए पे है और मैं कहता हूं कि ये ओवर वैल्यूड है, बट वो 9,000 पे चला जाता है, तो द अदर गाय विल से लुक यू आर इडियट, तुम तो 6,000 बोला थे, 9,000 चला गया। वो स्टॉक लेट से 9,000 से करेक्ट होके 6,000 पे आता है, फिर 6,000 वाला कहता है वाज नॉट एन इडियट, मैंने 6,000 बोला था और देखो 6,000 आ गया। The thing is, there is no right and wrong. So never see these discussions as this is right or that is wrong. Till what framework with which one is looking, it fits that framework. And two people can look from two different frameworks and both can be right. So when I am saying that this is what I am reading on social media and tweet, the idea is to not to say I am wrong, they are right, I am wrong. The idea is to say in my framework, does it make sense? And in their framework, does it make sense? So there is one tweet around कि कंपनी का ऐसा दिन आ गया है कि उसको अपना लैंड बैंक बेचना पड़ रहा है. So basically there is a news that the company is selling one of their land banks. And in last 2 con calls, people have asked and they told there is no immediate plan to sell the land bank. But then I think yesterday that news came. Then of course we all know stage 3, stage 4, so stock is in downtrend. So we'll know, okay, everybody says don't catch a falling knife. So all of that is going on. So the stock is Sudarshan Chemical. Now, the thing is, see, right now, this company has done a big capex where the asset will, by next year, their asset, I think it will easily go, if I remember the numbers, more than 50-60% than their previous asset base. We can't be so go about Asian Paints and be so bearish about, Sudarshan Chemical, because it's a big segment from which they derive their revenue. It's the number
it used to be number fourth player globally, and now it is number three player globally when it comes to some of the specific pigments. And India, it is the number one player. Look at the kind of asset they have on the balance sheet. Look at the kind of capital work in progress they have on the balance sheet, and look at the market cap it is trading. Then again, I'm a strong admirer of reversion to mean. Look at the kind of average margins this company has done. And if you read the annual report, same kind of story was there in 2013. Same kind of big capex happened. So demand is always cyclic, वो आता जाता रहता है, ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है. But and when you see this kind of news, nothing positive, results not great. But as I said, आदमी की लाइफ और मार्केट सेम होती है, और राहु केतु सबकी लाइफ में आता है. फिर कैरेक्टर सही होना चाहिए, कैरेक्टर सही नहीं होगा तो नहीं होगा. तो so the important question is, how is management by character? Is it structurally a declining industry? So if it is structurally a declining industry, then why Asian Paints? That is the question. Or why any paint company? Of course, there is a cyclic business because they are exposed to multiple sectors, and some of the sectors are highly cyclic. That is there. Then of course the Europe issues are there, and Europe issues has its own advantages, disadvantages. I don't want to get into all the details, but it looks like a typical contrarian bet where the price is also going down, the sentiments are also down. But when you look from a 3 to 4 year perspective, I don't know why somebody will lose money from here. That is one point. Because when your market cap and your asset capital work in progress and all itself is like lifetime mouth-watering valuation, margins will always come back. Because फिर क्या होगा कि जो weaker players होते हैं वो market से बाहर हो जाते हैं, and फिर industry consolidate होती है. In fact, even here, when you look at the global 1-2 player, see what kind of asset, what kind of sell-off and merger which has happened. So of course it will take time, and that is where I have also tweaked my strategy. If I feel it is going to go down further, I don't buy in one go, and that is where I say, because ultimately price जब नीचे जाता है तो दुख होता है. So how one buys? So I don't have. I think I'm very sure about money being made in 3 to 4 years, but I am not sure if this is the bottom price, or I am sure there is no uptrend right now. So one has to allocate accordingly. The other thing which is important is, if the price is going down, so are people taking the price down? Are they more intelligent, or are the buyers who are buying it, are they more intelligent? So let me tell you another fact. When I check the shareholding history, and I think he is one of the most popular investment personalities, and I think the person buying may belong to one of his family member. Again, the idea is not to piggyback, but the idea is to understand. When I go through the con calls, I see that institution asking questions in the con call right from 2015, which means they have understood this company for last 7 years. They have been in this company for last 7 years, and they have increased and decreased their holdings historically. And when the stock price peaked out, basically that is where they sold. And actually right now they have again increased their position by 5%. So it's very interesting to understand कि कौन ज़्यादा intelligent है, कौन नहीं है, कौन सही कर रहा है, कौन गलत कर रहा है. So maybe they're taking the contra bet, and maybe they might be having a better understanding of business, having understood for 7 years and increasing and decreasing positions. When the price was making higher, they were selling, and now they're buying. So there are a lot of angles to contra, and for me, every data point is something to explore and draw an inference. But this is one example I feel where everything is negative, and anybody who is talking about this stock will be called an idiot right now. So it might fit into contra bet, and maybe next 3-4 years will prove what happens to it. Because वो 370 से 330 गया, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि जो बाई करने वाला है वो गधा है, और वो 370 से 440 जाता है तो बाई करने वाला इंटेलिजेंट है, ऐसा नहीं है. It's more about what is my process, what is my understanding, what is my framework. So it's not like I have gone and I have added the whole position. I have my own process of allocation कि मैं कब buy position लूंगा, कब मैं increase करूंगा, कब मैं fully allocate होऊंगा. And as per my process, which is a blending of fundamental and technical, I would love to expose more, provided the assumptions remain same. But this looks like one current contra bet to me. Yeah.
Great. And for our attendees, like, you should be more interested in the process which was discussed by Saurabh and Lalit, rather than going by the name, or it's their personal opinion, and of course there is no buy sell recommendation. Yeah, Kaushik, you can unmute and ask your question.
Sorry, Prince. Sorry, it was internet issue. Hi, Lalit, and hi, Saurabh. I just wanted to ask about, do you believe in terminal value? or if you believe you are telling that every time you look for a contra bed which is having a lot of margin of safety for yourself, because you are telling that you are going to buy an asset, something like you have an asset greater than your market cap is lower than asset. So it's like every time this is available only in mid and small cap space. So I just wanted to understand more deeper in your philosophy.
But I probably, Suru, I'll take this and then you can add this across. 100% you need to believe in terminal value. It matters a lot in terms of how big the asset is all about and what in perpetuity it can give value. And terminal value can significantly differ across different industries. Say, for example, a cement, it can be completely different. Something for a new age tech listed companies, which is there, their terminal value, their value of the company might be 99% terminal value, and 1% probably, the balance 5 years of DCF value, which is going to come across. So you will have to take a pinch of salt. And probably that's the reason many of them keep asking me, right? I keep receiving a lot of direct message on a daily basis ki, hey, Zomato kharid le, Paytm kharid le, delivery kharid le kya? I said, boss, these are all loss making, and just because these stocks have corrected by 50% doesn't mean that these are a contra bets in nature at all, right? I mean, people have a lot of perception saying that okay, a fall in price is equivalent to you getting a opportunity in terms of buying a contra related bet or taking a contra stance. It is never ever linked to your price. I think price is secondary. The first part is business cycle, kahan pe wo business hai, or the event which has taken place, and identifying towards that event what is the intrinsic value. And intrinsic value is nothing but it obviously includes your terminal value. So you will have to place a lot of reliance on terminal value. Having said that, terminal value might just be one criteria, right, for taking a bet or a stance, and you might always ignore. I have ignored a lot of time terminal values. I have not probably considered many a times terminal value at all. Probably my short-term thought process could be slightly different in terms of taking a position or a bet as compared to my long-term thought process. So it's a bet against yourself. Every single time it's a bet against yourself, and Suru pointed it exactly right. कि 9,000 का 6,000 आ गया और 6,000 पहले भी था, doesn't mean that कि वही भाव पे आ गया और पोजीशन कैसे ले. So there's no question of who is right or who is wrong. It's only you versus you. And if you have to generate return, आपको देखना तो आप ही आपका पोजीशन लोगे और कोई आपके लिए पोजीशन नहीं लेगा. You'll have thousands of views which will come across, and after you buy and after it moves 10%, 20%, you will also feel the itching on your hand that I need to exit because the stock has given me 20% return. No, don't do it. Never do it, right? If your original thesis when you bought is very strong and you know that okay, this thesis allows me the stock to revert back and give me a 50-60% return, don't exit in midway unless there are significant factors which has changed while making the original thesis. So I think it's very important that you consider, but that might be just one of the parameters, and stick and run to the entire run which you're expecting. After you sell, there's a possibility that stock would have further gone up. Say I sold Cient बेचने के बाद में it has gone up by another 100%. But that's okay. There's no hard feelings at all. You can't be feeling, oh, I missed a 200% return or a bus which is there, right? That is part and parcel, यार. सुरू भाई कुछ ऐड करेगा इसके अंदर जो नहीं किया या जो हम लोगों ने लिया. आई थिंक हम लोगों ने सिटी यूनियन बैंक ट्रैक किया था दोनों साथ में. वही यही same cheese was. City Union Bank came back to levels of 2015. Again, it collapsed from 240, 250 to 120, 130 levels. We said, hey, Kumbhakonam का बैंक है, private bank है, MSME predominantly retail के अंदर दे रहा है. The only problem I think City Union Bank, which myself and Suru discussed, where good amount of their loan book, I think Suru 10 या 12% loan book उनका textiles में था. And during COVID, a lot of textiles related companies shut down, right? In the sites of Tirupur and others, and where their major allocation was there, and hence there was a spike in the NPS which came across. Highly conservative bank, highly conservative bank. Probably that was one of the reasons why I got fed up and I left it at 30% profits, where Suru is still continuing to track and is still continuing to hold his position. But yeah, that's how. I mean, you learn and you see and you develop. And next time, when you're 200% sure, ki, yeah, this is giving me, probably your allocation should be much higher because you have to strike it big in contra investments.
Sir, you are adding anything?
Yeah, Kaushik, did you have a question also around if these opportunities are only in small and mid cap? Or was that
Yes,
also the
yes, yes,
question? Or okay.
yes, yes.
So
That was
let
earlier.
me take an example. I think not necessarily like Kabhi Lalit spoke about Ambuja Cement. I don't know if it's a mid cap or large cap, but I think decent ही होगा size. The other one is, let me talk about a company which was the number one biggest company, market leader in hospital. So again, it may not be a large cap. अभी तो शायद large cap में भी आ गया है. But when I presented again to on a national forum, 2018, it was may not be exactly a large cap, but the biggest hospital. So it need not to be. And also you spoke about कि इसको asset से ही compare करके market cap asset. That is just one pattern. So there could be 10 different, just a technical analysis में there are 10 different patterns and people play on different patterns. Even in fundamental, even in contra, there could be different patterns. So if I talk of Apollo Hospital, one thing is what are we getting contra on? So एक होता है being going contra on perception. So for me, Apollo, apart from being a typical contra investment of operating leverage, for me it was a concept of being contra on perception because I felt the market is not percepting this company in the right way. Because everybody thinks it's a hospital company, and we all say that valuation is all about the future. And if I can take a future valuation, I felt this company might become more a retail company than a hospital company. बिकॉज वो इमेज बना हुआ है कि अपोलो हॉस्पिटल नाम में हर कोई सिर्फ हॉस्पिटल देखता है बट ओनली व्हेन यू स्टार्ट गोइंग टू द एनुअल रिपोर्ट manually extracting the number, looking at the business segment, compare hospital business with their medical store business, look at the growth rate, see 5 years down the line medical store business का जो profit होगा उसमें कहाँ होगा, hospital में कहाँ होगा, then you realize that today the segment which is 20% of the valuation, 5 years down the line, that segment is going to be 40 or 45% of the valuation. And maybe then you're all Google and Amazon acquire kar lega and all of that will happen. So asset is just one way to look at it, but there could be multiple different ways. The problem is we want to make everything so easy. अरे इसका P तो कम है तो ये attractive है, इसका P high है तो ये सबसे overvalued है. It's not that easy. If I find a good company at a very high P, the question first which comes to my mind is the high P coming on what kind of margin? Is the margin below or is the margin average? Because see, you have to get into the mathematics of your valuation. How the P is high? Is it because of the price or is it because of the EPS? If your EPS becomes much, much lower than the normal, still your P will be very high. So actually, if you see the Apollo Hospital, ठीक है. I hope I am audible.
You're audible. You're audible. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So see, ये जो हम बात कर रहे हैं अपोलो हॉस्पिटल का मार्जिन का एंड हाई पी का, उस समय उसका कुछ 120 130 पी था. But when you look at the margin, the hospital sector and this particular company, they worked on a 7% margin. So contra हुआ because the government came heavy on the hospitals that you reduce your price. And if you can go to the value picker thread, I was the one who started the Apollo Hospital thread, and there were doctors who were writing that this sector will not create wealth. So the other perception was it's an asset heavy business, it will never create wealth. The third perception was hotel and hospital are same. Simple metric. In hotel you have something called RevPAR, revenue per average revenue per night, and in hospital you have average revenue per bed. You see the kind of growth which has happened in that metric over last 10 years for a hotel versus hospital. There is no comparison. Hospital and education business, inflation, it goes with inflation, 6%. So your bed expansion is separate, your geographical expansion is separate. Just by charging 6% more annually, they do it. And it's an operating leverage business. It takes 3 years to reach optimum. So when all your hospital beds are at optimum, the good hospitals, they do generate 80-20% plus ROCE. So what happened? It's a 7% margin business because there was a huge capex from 7,000 beds. They were going to 10,000 beds, 40%, 45% kind of expansion, which will lead profit after 2-3 years at the optimum.
So वो एक उसके कारण your interest went high, your asset went high, your interest is high, your depreciation is high. So 8% का margin वहां से घट के 4% पे आ गया. Then this whole government thing that reduced the margin further. So basically, a hospital operating at a 8% margin comes down to 2%, and then you are telling the P is very high. This is not justified because you forget the government margin, but still you have to take the operating leverage into picture. When this new capex will start bearing fruits, so you can go to maybe 5% margin, and then there's a perception of hospital where there is a beautiful business called medical stores, and India 93% of the stores are unorganized. So when you combine all of this, just आप सोचो कि आप बस पी देख के छोड़ दे रहे हो, but all this needs deeper intelligence, deeper deep dive, deeper hard work, which if you do, so always try to get into nuances, and those nuances will help you to build multiple patterns, which later on will become ideal, where you can build your scanners and you can get interesting ideas. So asset is just one pattern. This is operating leverage is another pattern, and there could be more similar patterns by which people identify and make money. So I hope that answers the question on the asset side also, if that asset market cap is one way, just one way. Yeah.
Got it, sir. I have another lame question coming to my mind, because I work in a PMS, and currently I'm an institutional side, working in institutional side. So I just wanted to understand, can this be scalable model? Because ये strategy is such a way that ये individual level पे it works. But if I have a large amount of money to be invested, is it replicable? I just wanted to understand over here, because ये strategy replicable कैसे हो सकता है, and it can be scalable कैसे हो सकता है? Sorry, was I audible?
Sorry, was that question to me or to Suru?
Anyone of you. मतलब both. If you answer both also, I'm happy about it.
Scalability part
Maybe
of it,
Lalit,
if
you
you
can take it.
look, if I place a bigger order, and whether will I be able to make an allocation into a company, or the liquid or the volume will be there enough for me to place an order, and whether will I be able to even get an exit, because when I want to dump my shares, will there be enough buyers? Is there a question over there?
That is part of the question. And how about scalable? Scalable in sense, if I am running a PMS and if I wanted to copy this strategy and do it, is it possible to do it in a mutual fund, even PMS or anything, any other format? I can understand it can be done in investment advisory because the AUM is not so big.
In scalability, I don't foresee a challenge here. I mean, it's all. I have seen, PMS which have grown from 25 crore having a similar strategy and principles as when they were at 250 crores and as they were at 2,500 crores. Nothing much changed. Probably, I would say that at 25 crores, they used to take more risk into a small cap because they wanted to generate more returns. At probably a 250 crores, they moved and diversified themselves into a small and mid cap. Probably 2,500 crore, it was a large cap, mid cap, and small cap, right? If you are taking a specific bet to a specific stock where there's no other player, where either you're a monopoly or oligopoly kind of a situation where there are only two players, then you can always say, hey, I don't have anyone else, and hence for me to replicate a bigger size position might not make sense. But as you're moving towards industry, and as industries are there, you'll always find the player 2, 3, 4% return who is going to replicate the same returns as the other players have did. So I don't know, probably I have not faced that because I have dealt in across the market cap. I have taken a bet on 300 crores market cap companies, and I have also taken bet on 75,000, 1 lakh crore market cap companies. So I have not faced it. Suru, anything which you will have to add?
I believe it's just a concept. So basically, you can take this concept and you can go contrarian on the overall market also. You can go on the sector also. You can go contrarian on a country also. So like 3-4 months back, everybody was telling ki India is the only country, and nationalism, and China 15 years return became zero. I know there are friends and they're there on Twitter, very intelligent guys. They don't have big followers, but super intelligent guys. I met some of those bets because of my own systems, where, for the first time in life, I went and I opened a global account to buy some of the ETFs. But there are people, who did bet, and, they have made very good gains. So I think it depends on what is my investing philosophy, whether I want to restrict my bets only to a stock, or I'm open to everything, because opportunities can come in a form of a stock, large cap, small cap, in the form of a sector, in the form of country level bets anywhere. So it's more dependent on that will constrain
my ability to do contra investing, but as a concept, it's open even at the level of countries and themes.
I agree. I agree. Specifically, when Sahil is also there on the call, I think his reports have helped us a lot in terms of taking other countries. But we had recommended to clients on their mutual funds taking bets on Nasdaq related as a fund of fund, right, where all the companies over there in US were significantly hammered tech related stocks. Or you can take something like a Parag Parikh Flexi Cap fund, which has allocation of 20-25% on the US related stocks and 75% on India. So you can take a country specifically what Suru is saying via opening a demat account and specifically buying stocks or buying a fund of fund or probably a combination of India and US. So all of these three is available.
Thanks for this answer. Thanks for this. Yes, Prince, carry on.
Yeah, we got Sahil, Lalit, and Saurabh. So yeah, Sahil, your view on the ongoing topic, and I mean perhaps the broader market, how you see it, if you want to comment.
So I guess Saurabh and Lalit would have already covered all the aspects. Just one point on this scalable contrary investing. So I guess you have to compare, can you run a portfolio running a contra strategy? And that is, I think, a very worthy question. So, for example, if you are a contrarian investor, are you even beating the market returns or index returns or the FD returns? That is a worthy question to ask, and then think about being contrarian, other than having, let's say, contra as a strategy part of your portfolio, which is a different thing. Of course, that is one of the things you can practice. So when I look at contrarian investing, I think there are 2-3 parts to it. So when you look at stocks, you can be contra in two ways. One is that you don't agree with the market valuations, which is usually the case when you want to go short. That means you are looking to, go short on a specific index or a stock. That means you feel that the stock is overvalued. And the other segment is when you don't agree with the earnings growth that the stock is showing or the market is pricing in, which is usually when you go long, where you build a different hypothesis than what the stock price is building in. And you go contra not against the market participants, but against what is being priced. That is, I think, the most important aspect of contrarian investing when it comes to stocks. But when you think about a portfolio level, you have to go to different asset classes as well. So, for example, if you go to an asset class like a gold or a oil or other commodities or currencies, you don't have earnings growth, you don't have market valuations coming in handy. So you have to bring in very different flavors of how can you be different in terms of your own analysis. So, for example, you could look at the market flows. You could understand, is the investment hypothesis itself going away? Or you could look at, for example, for commodities, look at what is the assessment of demand supply of the market versus your own assessment. I think these are the various aspects when I look at contra investing as a whole. And as a practice, it's very, very market agnostic, market return agnostic. That means if you are a contra investor, you could be making below average FD returns for years and make very outsized gains maybe in 1 or 2 years. So usually on many occasions, your returns come bunched up in few years or in few strategies because that is how it functions, right? If you don't agree with the market, eventually the market will agree with you if your hypothesis is correct. So these are certain aspects. If you keep them in mind, it can become a very scalable strategy, but it is a very, very tough public market strategy. I think somebody from the PMS industry asked this question. It's a very tough public market strategy. It's a great private strategy where if you're a private investor, you can do it and practice it. But if you're a public investor handling public money, it's always going to be tough. So these are my 2 cents.
Thanks, Sahil.
Thanks, Sahil, for highlighting, because I think we said somewhere during the session that you will have to look idiot. And looking idiot with your personal money is easier. Looking idiot with public money is not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's not just about the conviction and about, how will you come across as an investor. It's also about the flows. So we have seen in the past, specifically in the dot-com era, that there were a number of great technology managers who had all the right bets, who had the understanding of the market, but they faced such deep redemptions that they were never able to make a comeback. And even if they were right, they could not hold on to those investments. So it's just not about the view. It's also about, if you're a public investor, there is going to be a inflow and outflow of money, which is going to make a hell lot of a difference to the returns.
Yeah, very rightly said, Sahil. So we have one attendee. Yeah, yeah, Lalit, you were to say.
No, no, I was just thinking that Sahil has started speaking on all the topics that now I have to start thinking contra and see if there's any other profession I need to jump to.
Yeah. So Ankur, you can unmute and ask your question to the speakers. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Ankur, you can speak. I cannot hear you. If Hello.
So, Prince, till then, I have a question for Lalit
Yeah,
and
yeah. Please go ahead. Please.
Suru. So maybe you had answered it already. I don't know. Maybe I could have missed it earlier. But I want to understand, is there a method to madness of position sizing when it comes to being contrarian? How do you build up a position or get out of a position? Because I think it's all about conviction at certain points in time. So is there a method that you follow?
At least I do to a great extent, and I go take a big size position as well, and that's what I have said in during this conversation as well, saying that hey, how big can you go? I went all up to 25-30% also, because like I said, right, I'm not managing any public money at this point, so I on my personal level can take that kind of a bet risk which has been there. And how do I do it? Probably I do it in two or more tranches, based on my conviction, number one, based on how the thesis is playing out, number two, and basis on how quarter after quarter is there a change in business which is happening at ground level, where people perceive that okay, a price is just a matter of time, price is secondary. I mean, business has to first reverse back to the mean for price to even revert back, right? So to a great extent, I take that allocation. I've written a detailed thread on Twitter in terms of when do I think I had quoted down 14, 15 points on when do you sell. I mean, taking a position is very easy. Selling is the most difficult part, because you don't know how much you have, driven that entire rally, or how much is spending, or how much is left. Probably I avoid across and sell across if there are news of repeated corporate governance. Say Infosys का एक बार whistleblower आया, I took a position. 3 months later, if there's another whistleblower, and 3 months later, if there's another whistleblower, then for sure I'm going to exit, irrespective of the fact that it might be a bluest of blue chip companies kind of stuff. But repeated kind of news which keeps coming across, I'm not going to stay in this stock. Second, if key employees are leaving the company, I think I've realized that very hard way. How much ever allocation you make, if the stock price falls, and if the business is all about cycle, right, end of the day, and every promoter who has gone through that cycle will bounce back very strongly. It's a matter of time. But during the fall, if your key employees who are the fundamental pillars of your company are leaving, which is an indication that hey, you need to downsize your position very drastically and very quickly, because then market price will have no bearing which is going to come across. Third, probably if management keeps coming on the TV repeatedly, time and again, every now and then says that hey, look, industry is going tough, but we are doing good, we are doing good, we are doing good, we are doing good, I think I'll exit, or probably I'll not make a position which is there. I think silent management, or those who have seen those cycles, will continue to deliver value, who have gone through that past and that reversion has happened, I think I better stick to them rather than those who keep coming and justifying why their price has fallen. So yeah, I at least have those 5 6 filters which I follow it up.
Sure. Thanks, Lalit.
Yeah, Saurabh, same question. You there, Saurabh?
Yeah, Sahil. So for me, asset allocation, so one, in terms of my whole risk framework, I don't allocate more than 6-7% to a particular stock. That is the maximum I stop. Now coming to when I will reach 1% or 6-7% in a contra investing. So as per me, there are two things which drive prices. One is the fundamental value, and second the flows, which we call momentum. And when you get a combination of both, that is where you make maximum money in minimum time. And valuation for me is never a number, specific number. For me, always it's a band. And that band may vary on 20 to 40% depending on business and how many risk levers and the impact and volatility of multiple risk levers. Like if I can take example of a YouTube video like a Newland Laboratories. So I told for me the valuation will be somewhere around 800 to 1300. Now I am not qualified enough. This band might be too wide, but that is what my capability is. What I start doing is I don't try to time it to perfection. Even if I keep the charts aside, I will buy in parts. And as I said, for me, value and momentum both are important. बिना momentum का stock run नहीं होता, earnings returns नहीं आता. So let's say if I have to take a 6% position, and let's say there is no momentum, it's in downtrend. So I will not take more than 2.5% allocation in that downtrend. But let's say it has hit the 1300 price, maybe I will take 0.5%. It comes to 1100. So as it keeps becoming more and more deep value or very attractively valued, or by worst case price below which if it is going, I feel there is something wrong which I have missed, whatever, or market crash ho gaya, everything 90% down, separate thing. But maybe I will take that 2.5, 3% position in this band of 1300 to 800 so that my average price becomes 1000, and I will not do that in one go. If all this is happening, that will take 1 year. If the story goes right and if the momentum comes, and then there's a clear indicator that market has recognized, and mostly what happens after that, within 1 quarter you'll know, you'll start getting better results. That is where I will again increase my position. So again, if I talk of ages, the ages video which I made, then it was at 210, but actually my research started around 230 and the first position was taken at 230. It again went from 230 to 170 and I kept building position and my average price was 210. But when the momentum came in ages, luckily the momentum came very soon within 6 months, and then I had my technical levels. But the thing is, now as the price is rising, fundamentally my margin of safety is decreasing. So I might be adding up, but my margin of safety is lower. So many times what I do, I end up taking 5% allocation, but my 3% allocation remains in my funda account. The 2% extra allocation I might do in trade account at right technical levels, where I'm very sure that if it goes down, I will book my stop losses, or if my valuation is intact, I feel still it is attractive, I keep doing it. So this is how some on the value side, valuation side, when things are not in favor, and then some on the momentum side when things are in favor on the price, on the charts. This is how I try to build it. And if everything goes well, I have not missed the opportunity, I end up making that whole 5-6% kind of allocation. That is my process.
Right, sir. So Lalit, like you talked about a recent contra bet. So that is generating good cash. But if we take a scenario, maybe hypothetical, it could be the group is, I mean, planning to reduce their debt, right? So if the cash which that company is generating had been utilized so as to decrease the debt, so how you place yourself with that investment in such cases? How you manage the risk of risk, not as in like the company will go bust, but the opportunity cost, as in such scenarios the company might go sideways for a longer period of time.
100% agreed. I think, again, I've learned this a very hard way. where we have invested in the likes of GMR, Lanco, Suzlon, BGR Energy, right? And it has happened. It has happened where lot of debt is there, where some allocation has been done across by companies to reduce on debt in which they intend, and then they float around a demerger story. They float around saying that hey, we are going to get across orders which is going to come, and it never happens, right? And my hard lesson is, again, take a contra bet onto a company which has very limited debt or no debt at all. Because then the management does not have a pressure saying that, hey, look, if I don't manage, or if my suppliers come on my doorstep tomorrow, I should be in a position to pay them off at any point of time, right? And which is very crucial, because end of the day, your business is being run by your customers, your suppliers, your employees, and you yourself as a promoter. And that's the very basic sense of understanding a business. And if any of these pillars, I consider this as a four chair का जो stool होता है उसका pillars है. If any of one falls, all three will automatically fall, because business can't bounce back once there's a collapse in price. A collapse in price just takes away founders' energy in justifying, saying that hey, why a 30, 40, 50% collapse has happened. I lost money in probably in Yes Bank. I lost some money in DHFL, probably exited early, thinking that it might be a kind of a contra, but it doesn't happen. I mean, it always doesn't work, right? How quickly you can get out once you realize matters a lot. But if the company is utilizing its cash in quickly repaying debts, making sure that the debt probably is under 0.4, 0.5 kind of a ratio, I think I will be comfortable. Probably as the management goes ahead and as the cycle turns, if they're able to manage that leverage, I think I'm done. But I think I've lost good amount of decent money in terms of trying to bet on companies which are having or having very excessive leverage here. It doesn't work well at all. It will always fail. 99% of the time, those companies will never bounce back, because they are just crushed by the debt and they become another hope or hype story. Better to stay away than say sorry.
Yeah, right. So most of your sell strategy you already discussed, Lalit. So anything additional you want to add on that front, and do you keep any strict stop losses, or how you go about that?
Very difficult. I'm not a guy who does on the stop loss, because if I'm taking a bet on a thesis which I believe will work, because when I'm taking a position, stop loss is the last thing which will come to my mind, because there's already an ample amount of margin of safety which is there. But like I said, right, after you take a position, and if the situation is evolving, if the situation is changing, where you get across, say, I took a bet on PC Jewelers, right, before they became bankrupt. So situation kept evolving. They were not able to pay on the banks. Banks kept on chasing them across, even though they were having, and mind you, this is not just a retail. Today, you might laugh at me when I say PC Jewelers. Best of best mutual funds in India had invested in the likes of IVRCL, BGR, Lanco, Suzlon, DHFL, Yes Bank, and PC Jewelers. Best of best guys. So you might think that as a retail guy, what leverage I might have in terms of the other mutual fund guys who might have at their disposal the entire management to speak at, right? I don't have at my disposal where I can pick up a call and speak with the management saying, hey, what's happening? So there's a hard learning for that as well. Saying that, okay, yeah, selling nahi ho raha hai. The guys are struggling in terms of pledging that the guys have kept their promoter holding on a pledge, and any 20% fall, the stocks will be again hammered back. So I think market evolving रहते हैं, उस सेम आप कैसे वो situation को देखते हो and how you place yourself matters a lot more than just taking a position. Anyone can take position. Frankly, any single guy who's there can take position. I think taking position is nothing. It's just probably, I would say, 10% of the entire process. Holding on to that position, driving, running, going through the pain, going through the process, creating the gut inside you. The gut will take 5, 7, 10 years. That gut actually takes a lot more time, because if you don't have a gut, another 20% fall, first thing you will do is you will panic and you will exit. And it has happened with me in my initial years of contra investing, where 20% fall, I'll panic and I'll exit. I think you need to create that gut, and for that, if you have a stop loss, you'll usually miss a bigger picture. Like I said, right, I speak with my technical friends to check across if there is anything which I can take or position. If it goes further down, probably I add more. If I have a strong conviction, I usually add it more.
So sort of like when it comes to selling for you, it is like totally system driven. You get signals, then you sell off your positions, or you go by investment basis. You see every investment from a different point of view, and accordingly you.
I think it's a mix of lot of things here. So there are years in the market when you need to be invested. There are years in the market when you need to set out, and there are years in the market when you should be happy with small profit. And usually, if the market is a range, see first, I'm a guy who thinks in probabilities. So if the broader market is not going to perform, if the small cap index is not going to perform, the probability of making money is harder. That means we need to be much more accurate to make the same amount of return. So, and there are times when the whole index goes in a sideways trend and it will look like look right now banks had one of the best results and still the prices are not moving. So if that happens, you can't make money. So if there are markets when it's a sideway market, I don't see capital preservation becomes my main goal. And then if I make decent money and stock looks overvalued, I end up selling. Or I have certain technical indicators which, like when they cry, they say I don't care about fundamentals, I sell. Or if there are sectors where I don't have a deep understanding and my technical indicators say, I end up selling. Or if I make too good money in too quick time, like let's say my estimate was I will make 15% return, 15% return, and in next 4 years I'll make 60% return. If I get 60% return in 1 year and fundamentally nothing has changed in the business, I can sell. So there could be, it's not very simple logic that this is how I'll sell, but there are a lot of mix of these things, the broader market, how the broader market is, how the charts are, how the fundamentals are, what was my valuation thesis, what was my expectations, how much I'm getting, what is the time factor of that. It's a play on a lot of these things, so very difficult to define in a rule, but it's a case to case basis. Depending on all of these, I take calls.
Yeah, Kaushik, go ahead.
This is slightly a different question that I have. Any one of you or both of you can answer this. For an example, there is a very big industry where we are very much China dependent, and India consumes around 60,000 crores of that product, but in India it's only produced around 5,000 crores of product. Now, there is a management who's found a different way to capture this market and has actually, and we believe, for example, any one of us believe that there might be a possibility that this management can actually capture this. If this kind of story and balance sheet is also okay when it comes to profit margins and all, for the upcoming business it will be great, but for the current business it's not so great. So the company has some kind of cash flows. They need to do some internal accruals and they need to do some debt and equity. So these are the three ways that the company is raising capital and then trying to get into that business. So if this is the kind of situation, how you guys will go about understanding the business, or like how you think about it?
I don't see this any different from the normal analysis which we do across, right? I mean, it has got nothing much on the contra side of it. Apart from the fact that any stock we select, we run a story, right? I mean, why do we invest in stock basis on a story? And that story is what we create, saying that a company is doing this much, company is selling at 20,000 cars, probably it has a potential for 2 lakh cars. Can it capture that market which is available globally? If it is able to capture, how much percentage of it can capture, and basis on which we make our projection, right? This is no different in terms of what you have explained from the normal analysis which we do in terms of evaluating a company. And I fairly believe that retail are more optimistic than the management themselves. And majority of the management guys in India are the first gen guys who are already at the age of 60. 90% of the promoters don't have the ambition itself of doing more than what they're doing. I have met majority of the management guys and their ambition is so limited to what they're doing presently. Probably the next gen guy have slightly more blood in their hands, saying that, hey, I want to do something which probably my dad has not did, and they might want to look and take a global opportunity picture. But yeah, this is no different from what scenario we normally use in terms of investing. Nothing much on the contra, at least unless you say that hey, there's a contra thinking, but not as a contra investment. I don't foresee a difference. Suru, anything? I don't know. Probably I'm visualizing
No,
this
Lalit,
slightly different.
you covered it well.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks. So
Okay.
Lalit and Kumar, like Kaushik, any follow up because we are short of
Yes, yes.
time. So if
Okay,
it's
okay.
please
Go
make it
ahead, go ahead.
fast.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So Lalit and Kumar, like the pharma sector and chemical sector. So where you see these sectors in current market scenario. So are you looking up to it, or there is still more pain left in these sectors? If you have any view.
I don't know, yaar. I'm not, I've burned my fingers whenever I've tracked pharma or whenever I've invested in pharma stocks. Probably Sun Pharma was my last investment, which I made in 2017-18 as a contra pick. And like Suru said, right, when you don't understand the sector or you don't understand the outcome of that sector, probably you should not invest because there are way too many moving variables in terms of their R&D process, what type of player they are, is there they are just an API player, do they have an R&D, do they फाइल फॉर मॉलिक्यूल्स कैसे होता है मतलब पूरा एंड टू एंड साइकिल समझना पड़ता है और उसके ऊपर आप बेट लेते हो एंड मेनी ऑफ दीज फार्मा their recovery period is 8-10 years, right? You have players starting from Biocon to someone who is like a Sun Pharma, Divi's kind of a player, right? So I think I'm not understood end to end, or probably I might not be a right guy who can say. Of course, I can always look at it fundamentally because end of the day, whatever business you do has to reflect in numbers. Story might be great. You might say, hey, this guy has probably 200 formulations which might come into picture and stuff, and it might generate a revenue of 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh crore also, right? End of the day, अगर नंबर के अंदर रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं हो रहा है, एक साल के अंदर नहीं हो रहा है, 2 साल के अंदर नहीं हो रहा है, then story continues to remain a story. It's just an hype and a hope which has been created. Probably I have learned it hard way again in terms of not taking much bet on the pharma and specialty chemical as such. Many of my friends have helped me in specialty chemicals, understanding it, trying, but there's a lot of timing here. There's a China factor which comes up. You need to track the commodity very, very closely. So उसके अंदर बहुत सारा expert advice आपको चाहिए होता है because unless and until you're in that sector, you can't do anything. You just can't be an expert in all the sectors. Few you can understand, correlated with numbers. Few you will know that fundamentally there's a factor, and few there's a moving variable where you need to call an expert like Suru or anyone else who is there. Sahil is there. You can call, understand what is happening in terms of dynamics in the industry. I have few clients, majority of the clients who are working in the respective industries where I take their inputs before making an investment bet, right? So I think that also helps while making an investment bet.
Right.
So, so Prince, on pharma, my starting experience was also bad. And the reason why I said repeatedly, I think I told 2, 3 times, Lalit, I also have my good and bad experiences with two sectors. So using this word that stay out from what you don't understand, because currently I see, for personally, this is my belief, if somebody is not working in that sector, the most complex sector for an investor, as per me, is banking and pharma. And one sector right now is in best of its times, another sector right now is in worst of its times. So the momentum guys will try to chase the best one, the value mindset will try to chase the worst one. But again, I'm repeating, if you don't understand it, at least experience one cycle for these industries. Those who have gone through the banking lending cycle of just recently 17 will understand this statement. Even if you have not gone through, just open the conference call transcripts of lending institutions of 2017-18 during the ILFS crisis. You will understand it. So I don't know why there should be excitement to understand things which are more complicated and leave things which are easier. So that is how I would say it. But still, if one wants to do it through a way so that even if you don't understand the story completely, either you are buying it so cheap that your margin of safety is there and you are protected, or have an exit strategy so that your losses don't get into eating all your profit. So that kind of safety needs to be done. My personal view, pharma, I don't have a lot of personal view fundamentally, because I see thing is happen, hum con call mein jo hota hai repeat karte hain, that is not business understanding. So I would not say that I have understanding. I try to blend it with technicals, and luckily that has been working for 3 years. It plays. The other sector, chemical,
Again, my exposure also chemical has not been that great. In fact, एक time था, I heard this statement कि ऐसा लगता है कि चाइना में एक आदमी को बिठाना पड़ेगा जो बताए कि अभी क्या हो रहा है. So that is the kind of, Lalit was telling, dependency is there. But for me,
Correct.
chemical has been a bottom-up story where, companies like Vinati, or right now I think I did a presentation on ultramarine. It is more a bottom-up, but I am studying chemical. I'm trying to take a shot on APIs and chemical at an industry level, which will take me maybe 1.5 months plan to do a webinar on the same. So after that, I don't know. Even after that, what I will have. But we should always learn new sectors. So that is where I am. But on charts, it doesn't look that good. I still believe, and many times we feel price correction को हम valuation से connect करते हैं. A 50% correction in price doesn't mean a 50% valuation attractiveness. Mind this. So on chart, it doesn't look good, and still many companies, they're just coming back to their average margin. Like companies like Balaji Amine, Alkyl Amine, all these companies, look at the margins which has happened in 2021. So what has happened with IT, that has also happened with pharma. So you will have to understand what are the normalized margins. Then the demand is a separate story. So it is not that easy. So my suggestion would be look at all these things rather than looking at price and thinking there is a deep value. Because many companies, looking at broadly, I don't find any kind of deep value in that. And pharma is little beyond understanding. I don't want to create a story of fundamental because I blend it with technicals, and that is how I play it.
Great. Thanks. So Lalit and Kumar, I'm done with all the questions, but again, before we close, would love to know about LKR advisors and scientific investing from you guys. Yeah, Lalit, you go first, please.
Nothing, no kind of promotion probably I would have. I've had more failures in my life than probably success. It's just that the success percentage is high to probably overcome failures. I've been an investment banker for last decade, been there with startups, helping them fundraise, and been in the journey in that field for a decade. So worked with 300 plus startups and been an investor, Contra in nature now for the last 4-5 years. Jitin Bhai, Nitin Bhai are there. Then they have been leading us, right? They have presented their way. They have been there for quite long time than what I am presently. There are very few who take Contra bet on market, and it's not easy at all. But I mean, just do it and you will realize that this might be one of the, probably not the only way, but one of the best ways of making good, decent money silently, right? Because you have the conviction, and the moment the conviction is bet, don't go for 2%, 3%, 5% allocation. Meto Suru ko, I keep shouting at him many a times. Bhai, if you know that, okay, yeah, this we have identified and this sees, why are you making a 5, 7%, 10%? I have forced him to make 10, 12% allocation at some point, and he's not too comfortable because that's how his investing style is. And whereas I go probably 25, 30% if I find a stock where, I can go ahead and make an allocation because I know I have nothing much to lose and my overall portfolio will still give me enough returns to beat or generate alpha, right? So yeah, I have been fortunate enough so far. There are a lot of ideas which I keep getting on my direct message. Will be more than happy to discuss with all of you folks in future.
Great, many thanks. Yeah, Saurabh.
Thanks, Prince. So I think I am known as one of the worst marketeers, so maybe I'll try to improve and take this opportunity. So I'll run this website called learn.scientificinvesting.in, which I started 1 year back after quitting my job. So we run a lot of things, educational things, courses on fundamental, technical. I come from a data science background, so I have courses around algorithmic building. And given the kind of scam I see around, like every day on Twitter, I see 99.9% accuracy kind of tweets, which is totally bluff. That is not how this industry works. So we have courses on quants, courses on algorithmic trading, courses on Python, Power BI. So a lot of technology oriented, interesting things for data guys. We are building certain products which will make algorithm building easy, back testing easy. So access to those products are there. Again, I don't market it a lot because I have been building it, but it is ready. So do visit this website, learn.scientificinvesting.in, and if there is anything relevant for you, do connect with me. Yeah.
And even the YouTube channel is gold mine, and if you see the videos and their timings, and you relate it whatever being discussed in those videos and how things have evolved, so surely you will know how much of hard work has been put in by Kumar Saurabh. So one thing I find common in both you guys is like you guys are very particular about particular in the sense like whatever you have studied, you doesn't write you don't write anything vague. Anything you write over your handles has been supported by something or the other, and to my experience those things have panned out well. So thank you so much for helping us in the turbulent times, and seriously the timely caution which you guys have been sharing over your handles are a big help for all of us. Keep doing that, and it was pleasure having you guys today. And I took more than the time which was planned, but again, when discussion gets interesting, time takes a back seat. So guys, you surely want to check out the handles of Kumar Saurabh and Lalit Rathi, and surely you can reciprocate by following their. I mean, this would be for your benefit. Again, you will find a gold mine of information. Nothing which you can say ki extra goods, appropriate, proper mark you will get. So with this, I take your leave and thank you guys for your time. Anything you want to say before?
Thank you so much, Prince. It was great speaking with you and all our people who are following up across this particular space.
Thanks, Lalit.
Thanks, Lalit. Thanks for all these wonderful spaces. And, for me, it's always a pleasure to come and talk to you. And Lalit is like a brother. So when any platform where both of us can talk together, I don't want to leave a chance. So that's the reason I came. And I am hoping that it was useful for everybody who was here. So thanks,
Yeah.
for spending
Indeed,
your time with us.
indeed beneficial, and surely will request time and again to come and share as and when you get time. So thank you guys, and the session was recorded, and I'll be placing it over YouTube channel, and obviously it will be available as a recording on Twitter also. So if you are liking our work, please do give us a follow. That basically gives the motivation so as to bring more learned people and get their views, and take that as a starting point. And again, any names which were discussed by our guests were purely for illustrations. Please don't go by that names and end up buying or selling on their view. They may change their view at any point in time. So it was shared in good essence, and please take that as a starting point so as to understand the process. Thank you. Good night. Take care.